Hello, fight fans. I'm that boxing writer, Jeremy Harridges, and welcome to this special episode on Wednesday, July 21st. I'm going to make this short and sweet. This is all about the possibility of having Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. This has to be, if this gets made, this has to be the biggest fight of 2021. Looking at everything that's possible, I can't imagine a bigger fight than this one, which is why I seriously hope that it happens. Obviously, there's Fury versus Wilder 3 if it actually happens, but to me, this is so much bigger than that one because, again, undisputed. It features, if it happens, Canelo Alvarez holds 3 titles, obviously one of the best boxers of all time, currently the best boxer of the present, going up against undefeated Caleb Plant. News broke yesterday. It was ESPN's Mike Coppinger. Sources told him, as always, those sources coming across, told him that, hey, this fight is actually in play for September 18th. Does it get made, though? Well, obviously, it's too soon to tell, and I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but when you get a report with that kind of strength behind it, saying that they're in progress talks and they are working on a one-fight deal for Fox, PBC on Fox pay-per-view, I mean, those are all good signs, and it makes Canelo look so smart for getting out of his former contract with Golden Boy and going his own way. If he were to get this thing going and able to piece it together with Fox after being with DAZN, it shows how malleable he is to getting fights done to further his career. And these are the fights that people want to see. Obviously, Canelo's been severely active this year so far, which, again, I don't want to overstate it, but in the era of COVID, he's already fought twice in 2021. Going back to December, I mean, really the last 7 months, he's already fought 3 times. This would be his 4th fight. I mean, that's a tremendous accomplishment for a fighter who's at the top of the food chain. You know, how often do we see a fighter that has that value that only fights maybe once a year, you know, maybe twice at the most, but 4 times in, you know, a series of months in less than a year? That would be something really special. And I think that he's trying to cement his place in history. Not that he hasn't already done that, but obviously becoming undisputed would further his legacy, further his lore, further his myth. Fight details. As we're hearing it right now, as the sources are reporting it, I just said it would be Fox PBC, so he would be signing on with them. Obviously, he has his own promotional company, so I'm assuming that would be part of the deal. It would be co-promoted between Canelo and Fox PBC with, you know, TGB Promotions, who tends to do a lot of Caleb Plant fights. So for the promoters for this one, Canelo, TGB, appearing on Fox pay-per-view under the guidance and the managerial worksmanship of Al Heyman, putting this one fight together for monumental cash. I mean, this would have to be the biggest fight ticket of the year. There's no doubt about it in my mind if it gets made. I'm trying to curb my excitement, but I'm excited. I mean, this is a fight that I'd love to see. Canelo really seems amped to try to make those big fights. And who doesn't want to fight with Canelo? I mean, even if you lose or, you know, you break your orbital bone in many places, you get a career high payday, and it's great recognition if you perform well, which, other than really Golovkin, not too many people have performed well. Saunders was doing okay until his orbital bone broke, which is understandable. I mean, that's such a terrible injury. So I'm not giving Saunders any, you know, flack for that. That's one of the worst injuries you can possibly get. But back to this fight, a quick look at it. As they're looking at scheduling, I'm seeing that T-Mobile Arena would be booked up, so it would probably move over to the MGM Grand Garden Arena, which hosted Fury versus Wilder 2, and a host of other fights. So you can't go wrong within either venue. I've been at Grand Garden, and I like it a lot. And there's something to be said about kind of a more secluded fight atmosphere, that it allows for the ticket value to go up if there's fewer tickets. So don't expect a giant Las Vegas stadium show for this one. Probably more Grand Garden Arena. But again, ticket values are going to be way up there because it's a Canelo fight for an undisputed title against an undefeated Caleb Plant, who's got a great fan base on his own. What could go wrong, right? Now looking at this, just a quick look at this. Does Caleb Plant stand a chance? Of course he does, because he's a boxer. Whenever you're a boxer, you always stand a chance. He's got great skills. The only difference here really between the two, and of course he's got the size advantage. I think he's got a 3 or 4 inch, probably 3 inch height advantage at this point, 4 inch reach advantage. But Canelo's used to that. He's used to being the smaller guy in fights. It's basically the same setup that he had versus Callum Smith, right? And we saw how that went. I mean, he outboxed him for all 12 rounds and nearly got him out of there. So this is one where the size doesn't matter. The difference, Caleb Plant's got really good hand speed. Probably better speed than Billy Joe Saunders, I would say. His quickness, probably a little bit better. Power, well, his power is developing. Not to say that he doesn't have power. I mean, he's got a 57% KO rating, but it's not that kind of wow, one knockout type of power. The big difference is going to be the resumes. Looking at Caleb Plant's resume, it doesn't really have that many big names. The biggest name he has is Jose Uzcategui, who really hasn't gone on to do much. I mean, he lost to Lionel Thompson in 2019. He has 2 wins in his last 2 fights, but those came against a guy that's 20, 28, and 2, where he TKO'd the guy, and then he got a second round knockout against a guy that's 9 and 4. So it's not like he's fighting the creme de la creme. You know, just looking at Jose Uzcategui, his big claim to fame is the win over Andre Durrell, and you got to give him credit for that. But Durrell was also on the downswing of his career. So how good is Caleb Plant? If he performs well against Canelo, even if he doesn't win, if he goes all 12 rounds and makes it competitive, his status goes up, his reputation goes up. People say, okay, he's real. And that opens up all sorts of doors for Caleb Plant. Then he starts getting, a lot more name recognition. He doesn't even have to win. He just has to look good. Can he do that? We don't know. Considering the type of opposition that he's had, it's really hard to tell because he hasn't fought great opponents at this point. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez's resume is stellar. I mean, he's fought everybody he's been asked to fight, and not even been asked to fight. He's gone up to light heavyweight. He's been all over the place. So you can't compete with the resumes. So there's no doubt that this would be an uphill battle for Caleb Plant. But if he's able to look good, one where he can really prove himself in this fight. So I think it's more about Caleb Plant getting the opportunity to prove his worth rather than just Canelo going for another undisputed or going for undisputed status. That's where I see the story is how good is Caleb Plant? Now it's time to show us. This is his opportunity and make a lot of money while doing it. One quick thing about the resumes, if you go to total rounds boxed, this is where experience is really a killer. Canelo Alvarez has boxed 425 professional rounds of boxing. Caleb Plant, 122. Just measure that out for a second. 425 to 122. That's a huge difference. So as much as he's got the size advantage, that might be his only advantage at this point. So will this fight happen? Will it occur? We shall see. But I wanted to talk with you guys quickly about it. Tell me what you think. Who do you think wins this matchup? Does it get made? Give me your thoughts. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. I'm looking to hear from you guys. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.